That's a fitting conclusion to the Cincinnati Bengals season, quite frankly. Another embarrassing loss at home, another weird game. Let's break down the Bengals season finale.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We got to break down a pretty gross season finale, quite frankly. If I'm being honest, I didn't like the way this game went, James Rapien, but there is a silver lining that could be related to draft positioning that we'll get to today, as well as we get into the Bengals season finale at home against the Cleveland Browns, where they lose 20-18 in a dumb way for a number of reasons. This episode brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Welcome back to all the everydayers out there. Welcome back to everyone who makes Locked On Bengals their first listen. And James, that was two turnovers that turned into touchdowns, 2 defensive touchdowns for the Browns, 2 missed extra points, and a 20-18 final score that, honestly, I know that there are fans out there that wanted the Bengals to lose this game. Leaves a sour taste in my mouth, even though it went the way it did, and it was like weird, fluky plays. Leaves a sour taste in my mouth to see this team lose to this version of the Browns like this, the way they did.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's a joke. They tried to win today. They put Joe Burrow at risk for that. Put Jamar Chase at risk for that. Like, if you're going to do that, you better kick their rears. And honestly, they clammed up the moment that pick six happened. It was like the whole game just shifted. And I don't know what it is where they do this with the Browns. And it's always ugly and it's always something. But it was still just 7-6. Like, the sky wasn't falling, and yet it felt like it was falling. And the offense didn't do anything again until the second half. And Noah Fant is just ridiculous. Like, it was a comedy of errors. And Joe talked about that early in his press conference, the false starts and this and that. But fine, what are you doing on all these other possessions? Because even with the 2 touchdowns scored by the Browns defense, it was the worst offense ever. Like, the worst offense ever. And it made your defense look really, really good up until the game was on the line. And so, yeah, it's frustrating because not that the Bengals aren't better off now draft position wise, and they are. If they had won, they wouldn't be where they're at right now, even though things still have yet to be decided at the time of recording. But it's one of those things that you look at it and you're like, how in the world is this Cleveland team with Shedeur Sanders, who clearly doesn't have the ability right now, plus the offensive line right now, plus the trust in his weapons, like that just offense was awful. And so for them, with a coach that was like half fired over the weekend, to come in here and win, like, it is embarrassing. And it's okay to call it that. And it's different now, and the Bengals players can let their guard down now and just say, all right, well, the season's over, because they can't go back a few hours and change it. But what we saw, if you're watching on YouTube on the field behind me, that was an embarrassment, because there's no scenario where that team led by Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase should have lost to that Browns team. None. And yet here we are talking about a 6-11 Bengals team.
It's the story of many games this season. It's in some ways reminiscent of that Jets loss, where you take a lead against the Jets late against one of the worst offenses in the NFL, if not the worst offense in the NFL at the time, and then you give up a walk-off, essentially a walk-off, and do the same thing.
It's like the
here.
Bears too, you know? I mean, where you get the lead late and it feels like you're going to win. You need one stop. And
3 games that if the Bengals had won, they would be 9-8, and potentially, depending on what happens tonight, we're recording this before the Steelers play the Ravens, potentially winning the division. But we're not talking about anything close to winning a division, because they lost all those games, because that's who they are this year.
they're bad.
I thought they were controlling this game early.
Yeah.
They get the quick takeaway. Shedeur Sanders looks awful to start the game. They should have had more than one takeaway. They should have had at least 3. Geno Stone had 2 hit him in the hands. They could have had 4 or even 5 on some other plays that defenders got close to pulling in interceptions. And then after scoring a touchdown to punish that immediate fumble, playing complimentary football, you get a ball that should have been a T. Higgins touchdown, deflected at the line of scrimmage, turns into a pick six the other way. Bengals could have been up 13-0 at that point, 14-0 if you don't have special teams issues. The very next drive, they managed to pick up a first down. They get all the way out to the 41-yard line. They get a first down. They start to move the ball. Then Noah Fant for the 3rd time this season. Are you kidding me? Like a couple of weeks ago, I would have been happy to talk about bringing Noah Fant back for tight end depth. I'm good. You can't set a record for non-quarterback. Probably. We don't know for sure, but I know you and Ben were looking into this. 3 times season? What is going on?
It's the first time since 1978.
At least 1978.
Yep. And that's as far back as they go from a stat standpoint. So goodness gracious. Like and that's what's crazy is in most games that gets you beat. It was right there. They were still right there. Everything was still right there. In the offense. So let's do that. Let's play this game, right? Because is Zac Taylor an offensive coach? He is. Will everyone say how good the offense is, how set the offense is over the next few months? They will. Okay. So after that fumble, punt, touchdown, punt. Was that 4 punts out of 5 possessions? Oh, it was 4 punts out of 5 possessions.
And that includes a punt after 4th and 1 on the Cleveland 47. Oh, no, sorry. They converted that one. That's the one where Joe Burrow took a sack. Never mind. I apologize. That was wrong. But they did have a punt after a 4th and 1 near midfield.
They did.
At least
they
one.
did. That was early in the game as well. Yeah. That was
on the drive right after the fumble 6. They had 4th and 1 at the Cleveland 45. They did the same thing. They did it multiple times in this game. They did it on a 3rd down in this game. They line up and they try to draw the offsides penalty and it doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, just go for it, man. What are we doing?
4th and 1. 4th and 1. No. And you know what? At that point, Zach was thinking, oh, well, the defense is going to get a stop. We're going to pin them back. Their offense can't move it. Fine. We don't want to give them any
momentum. And they did.
Sure. They did give up a first down, I believe, and then they did. But
they gave up a first down, but eventually the result is the Browns punt a couple times, the Bengals score a touchdown. Like it ends up kind of working out, but maybe you could have scored 2 touchdowns. Who knows?
Maybe. But now we don't know. Look, we'll
never know.
It was just a really weird, odd game. And there weren't many scenarios when I was driving to the stadium today where Joe Burrow's healthy, which we can say now, because before the game, you don't want to say that. Joe Burrow's healthy. Jamar Chase is healthy. T. Higgins healthy. This defense doesn't get sliced and diced by they allow 6 points. Let's just do it that way. They allow 6 points. They don't give up a touchdown. You would think that the Bengals won 20-6 or something in that range.
At least,
at least. And that's how it felt like it was going to go early in this game. And so for it to not, it's just a reminder, like, one, they better add a crap ton of talent. Better. But 2, all of the people that are like, well, Zach doesn't have this or that. It's like, all right, well, don't lose that game. Like the elite head coaches don't lose that game. They just don't. The Jets game, they don't lose that game. Like there are certain games this year, and this is one of them, where if you're a really good head coach, you find a way to win the game. And even with the stuff that is gone on, you find a way. And not that you do it every time, but a lot of those times it feels like it's going the other way for Zach. And certainly this year, no doubt.
Bengals were 3-3 in games Joe Burrow started and finished this year.
That's insane.
Can't do that. After you went 9-8 last year, you had a fully healthy Joe Burrow. You do the same thing this year in his healthy games. You go 3-3, you're a 500 team. Unacceptable. Simply unacceptable. And their players have played well in this game. Their units have played well in this game. We'll talk about that probably some more when we get into the film, because there are some things that matter in terms of looking forward into the future. Shamar Stewart, Miles Murphy, Demetrius Knight, the offensive line, Amarius Mims. There are also some things that were maddening to me. I mean, we've talked about some of them already. That the errors, the unforced errors, just like Gosh. The Browns made a play on the pick six. Is what it is. It's a good play.
Can't derail the game. You can't end the game.
No.
It's bad play.
Joe Burrow's comments also pretty interesting after this one. We'll continue as the Bengals finish their season 6-11 coming up next.
Kicking off the new year and feeling better, feeling right is always the goal. I know it is for me. A few weeks ago, I was like, all right, it's time to start 2026. Start it right. Well, hydration is a big part of that. And Drip Drop is huge for me. Drip Drop is doctor developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, even fresh skin glow. And look, I've used Drip Drop now for a few weeks. One, you don't get to keep up on your hydration nearly as much during the season. And after I don't get to go to Cancun like Jamar Chase, but you want to be able to be on your A game. You want to bounce back. And Drip Drop's science-backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals. Over 90% of top college and pro teams use Drip Drop because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. You got to try Drip Drop. All the amazing flavors. I've had a bunch of flavors. And, well, guess what I'm going to be drinking when I get home? A Drip Drop. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order just for listening to Locked On Bengals. All you have to do is go to dripdrop.com, use promo code LockedOnNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LockedOnNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com. No, it's not a knock at Noah Fant. Dripdrop.com, promo code LockedOnNFL.
We're also brought to you today by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge, but with Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high pressure matchups coming up in the playoffs and plenty of basketball going on, the action never slows down, and Prize Picks lets you stay in control. It's a daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. There's no drafts involved. There's no waiting. You just pick more or less and play your way. It's quick and simple to get started. The app is super easy to navigate, and there are options like flex play where you can still get paid even if one pick misses, and there's an early payouts feature that they've added. So if a player starts hot, you can cash out before the game ends. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
All right, Jake, let's continue the conversation. And these are weird. I full disclosure, the post-game press conferences, they're so weird in a season finale like this. Like last year, they were still waiting on Sunday to see if they were getting in or not. Now we know it's final. And so you got Joe Burrow. It's the last time we're talking to him for a while. And then Zac Taylor, we're going to hear from him on Monday. So it's a big difference between the two. And so the Joe Burrow comments, and for those wondering like, oh, well, why aren't you asking Zac this or that? Well, we're going to talk to him again on Monday. But when it comes to Joe, like this is the last time we're going to hear from him, maybe until the Super Bowl. Like I assume maybe he'll do some Super Bowl stuff. Maybe. I don't even know if he will, but pretty interesting. The stuff that he had to say. And it was funny. It almost felt like he listens, because I know I'm not going to say I know he doesn't, but free agency is paramount. Jake Liscow, coach is good. He still likes the coaches. They better add in free agency, which is obviously something we're going to cover over the next few months.
Yeah, we had the report from Diana Rossini, I think, between recordings where she's talking about Zac Taylor still having the support of Bengals players. Jamar Chase was asked about his confidence in the coaching staff at his locker, which got a half answer. It's certainly not a direct, full-throated support of the coaching staff from Jamar Chase. He said that he was confident in himself and he was confident in the plays they called to get him open, which is sort of saying like, yeah, I think they can get me open, but also not like, yeah, I support this coaching staff. I think they're going to do the right thing and get us back to where we need to be. A little bit more of that support coming from Joe Burrow. And I think that is obviously the most important voice for ownership, as they were never apparently really considering Zac Taylor's future, which we talked about last week. And I'm glad we did. In retrospect, I wasn't sure. Like I knew we had to do it. But sometimes we do things that I know we have to cover. And, we talk about this. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that episode. And you're like, yeah, but we should. And I'm like, yeah, I know we have to. We should. You're right.
Mhm.
And then when they go and lose this game, it's a reminder that like you cannot be a victim to the moment. And
Yeah.
you could say that you're a victim to the moment if you're reacting to this game, but you're 6-11 this year, you're 9-8 last year. You're what would that be? 12-11 in your last 23 games that Joe Burrow started and finished. And obviously the record without him was terrible this year. That's why you had the conversation about Zac Taylor when we did. We'll probably continue to talk about it a little bit, but he's going to be back. And so
Mhm.
barring something shocking, I would say, I guess you shouldn't ever be so definitive, but Joe Burrow recognizing the importance of this offseason, right? The way his presser finished, and I'm sure this is calculated. He's asked like, how important is it over the next 8 months to get this thing right? As big as it gets. And then he walks off. As big as it gets. Thanks, guys. Ends the presser. Did you have the impression, James, as you obviously were present, listening to all of Joe's answers, asking him questions, that is a you better get it right next year kind of message from Joe Burrow? He also talked about being on the same page as the front office, so there is that data point as well. But what were your overall takeaways as you listened to how Joe was talking about this offseason in the future?
I think this year's been really hard for him because on one hand, he defies all medical anything and gets back when he does.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a Lombardi for that, right? But it's like the end of a journey to get back to playing again. And then you're playing again and you're thrust in the middle of an uphill climb to Everest, which is the playoffs. And so on one hand, he's like, hey, maybe I didn't make it all the way up to the top of Everest, but we weren't supposed to get there anyway. At least I'm back out here and I'm having fun. And you hear all those things. Like, I think that's part of it. Like having that perspective, probably multiple people that he cares about told him, like, have that perspective so you stay sane, right? So you aren't crazy and driving yourself crazy about losing, which it's probably healthy for him to have that perspective. On the other side of it, he knows damn well, like we do, when we've said it 50,000 times on this podcast, if I went up to him at his locker, and I probably won't see him again, but you know what? I promise the listeners I will. Like, you guys better do more in free agency than you did last year. Like, you guys didn't do anything in free agency last year. They were sitting on their hands trying to get Jamar and T done and not doing more. Like, I don't know what the hell they were doing, but they need to do more. And he'll probably smirk and nod. Like, I would not shock me one bit if I said that to him. I've never done that, by the way, because why would I do that? But like, he knows. That's the point. Is he knows. Jamar knows that they didn't do enough, especially if you have any belief in the coaches, any belief at all. And so I think it's short of ultimatum territory because I don't think he's gotten into full reflection mode yet. But I do think like he's like, all right, we got to like really push now and really get this right. And if you're sticking with Zac, then stick with Zac. I believe in him. We can make this work. But go get real pieces. Don't wait until August to sign Dalton Risner. By the way, Ted Karras voicing a ton of weight, throwing a ton of weight behind Dalton Risner and bringing him back. I know Joe feels the same way. Like, those are the type of things that, one, should be easy. Two, shouldn't distract you from the ultimate goal, which is making your team better. And so that's what I think it is. I mean, the draft pick, for example, we're going to talk about the draft pick. I guarantee you Joe's like, all right, fine, well, go get me proven guys. And then we'll see if that 10th overall pick or whatever it ends up being, if that guy can actually help us. But let's not go into a season next year like, oh, well, our pass rush is going to come from this guy and this guy alone.
Can't get that with the rookie anyway. Most of the
time. I know.
Certainly difficult when you're picking 9 and not like 2 or 3, where there might be a couple of quarterbacks picked in the top couple of picks. There is a lot of work for this team to do in the offseason. I do think that, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not quite ultimatum territory, but it's like, all right, we've been doing this for a few years now.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what needs to happen. But can you do it? Can you execute the plan? That's what is on deck for this Bengals front office this offseason. We're going to have this probably a couple of episodes, to be honest, but like a wish list for things for this Bengals front office to do this offseason and like do right. From getting ahead of some of these extensions to the way they attack free agency to the way they attack the draft. I don't know if we can fit that into one episode.
3 weeks worth of stuff. Hey, you guys better do this and this and this, and they're super high level stuff. Go ahead.
And that's the task ahead of them, because I mean, it just leaves such a bad taste in your mouth to finish this way and know that that's what you have ahead of you.
6-11.
We'll wrap up this episode here as the Bengals draft to 6-11 against the Cleveland Browns. Coming up next. This episode of Locked On Bengals is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's a new year, new James, but maybe the new year doesn't require a new you. Maybe it's just a less burdened you. We all carry things that weigh us down or hold us back, and therapy can help you identify what those things are by offering an unbiased perspective to help understand your relationships, motivations, emotions, whatever it is that's holding you back. That's where BetterHelp comes in, making it easy to get matched with an online qualified therapist who can help you work through what's holding you back. Maybe the Bengals front office needs to get working on what's holding them back, man. Maybe that's something that can help this ownership group get out of their own way. Maybe BetterHelp is the right direction there. BetterHelp will do all the matching work for you. A short questionnaire identifies your needs and preferences. And with over 12 years of experience, they typically will get it right the first time. But if you're not happy with your matched therapist, you can switch to a different therapist at any time, with over 30,000 therapists available and an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 on over 1.7 million client reviews. Check it out now. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time, what's the app that you need? And whether it's, well, NFL playoff tickets, which obviously won't be happening here in Cincinnati, or tickets to any live event. And I said this to Joe Daneman, Jake, like, it's officially basketball season, baby. So you better believe that I'm going to be looking for some NBA dates and use Game Time to go to some NBA games. And I've used Game Time to go to comedy shows. That's the beauty of Game Time, is it's going to help you find tickets in the easiest way possible. Take all of the stress out of getting those tickets, finding the right seats, the right price, the right view, the right experience, the right time. From zone deals to panoramic views of your seat, even getting NFL tickets to in Miami. My wife used them a few weeks ago. Game Time is going to help you do all of those things. So take all the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL, Locked On NFL, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On NFL for $20 off. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today and get back to being there live.
Want to make sure we cover all of the notable milestones in history in this game. Chase Brown goes over 1,000 yards. Chase Brown had another nice day. He's had a nice season. He's developed as a real piece for this offense. Samaje Perine had another nice game as well. I don't think there are any milestones there. T. Higgins scores another touchdown. Where did that put T in the touchdown leaderboard this season? Did I see that he was tied for first, or is that?
That's not true. Right. I know that's not true. So I will say this. Look that up if you can.
I'm looking at
It's harder while I'm doing my laptop. But T. Higgins, back-to-back years of double-digit touchdowns. Only the third Bengal to ever do that. And this is a career high, 11. He had 10 last year, 11 this year. Outstanding one-handed grab. Being interfered with didn't matter.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, man, he's a problem, man. He's so good.
Only 89 targets for T. Higgins this year for nearly 800 yards. He finishes at 779, 10 touchdowns. He's fifth in the NFL, which 11 is 11. So currently, okay. So before, I don't know what Trey McBride, Dallas Goedert, or Amon-Ra St. Brown have done, but those guys all have 11, and that's second in the NFL. So that 11th touchdown for T. Higgins. So he's also over 800 yards and 89 targets. I'm looking into stats apparently before today's game, but 11 touchdowns ties him going into the day at 11 for second in the NFL, and he missed a couple games. So good for T. Higgins to finish a year with another touchdown catch. Those guys are really good. T and Jamar both. And
I have a nugget on Jamar.
Go ahead.
127 catches last year, 125 this year. So now it's back-to-back years of 125 plus catches. But no other Bengals ever done that. ever. Not even close. The next closest was TJ Houshmandzadeh with 112. So shatters that, comes within a few catches. Couple drops, man. Jamar's had some drops. Couple drops away from breaking his record, which could end up leading the NFL. We'll see. Could end up leading the NFL depending on what happens.
I wonder how many times players have gone back-to-back 125 receptions in NFL history, period. Something I might be able to look into here. The other ones are not so good. We talked about Noah Fant earlier. This is also a tie for a Bengals record in defensive touchdowns allowed, meaning turnovers that you commit as an offense that the opposing team returns for a touchdown. 9 ties, a Bengals record that I think goes back to 2002, but I might be wrong about how far back that goes. Paul Dehner Jr. had that stat. Are there any other historical notes in this one as we wrap up the season? Obviously, Myles Garrett gets the sack. Okay, let's talk about the Myles Garrett sack play for just a second. I just want to get this off my chest. The Bengals had a double team on Myles Garrett the entire game. The first time they go straight drop back pass, not a double team on Myles Garrett. He gets the sack record with 5 minutes left in the game. If you've gone that long, why are you suddenly deviating from the plan? That drove me a little bit crazy. Those are all of my thoughts about the Myles Garrett sack.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know, because it felt like they had this whole offensive plan in general to not just Myles Garrett, but not let that pass rush dominate them. And so if that's the case, well, then do that. And then they opened it up a little bit, I think, after he got the record anyway. They were like, all right, we're down. We got to push it. And it worked a little bit. But, yeah, tough. I still am shocked they lost. I'm not going to lie to you. They had no business losing this game. None.
Yeah. Agreed. Let's talk about draft positioning.
Yeah.
That's the final topic here for today. Currently,
Let's go, baby. Yeah.
The Las Vegas Raiders are leading the Kansas City Chiefs at halftime as we record this. If the Kansas City Chiefs have won by the time you listen to this episode, the Bengals will be picking 9th. If the Las Vegas Raiders have won by the time you're listening to this, the Bengals will be picking 10th because the New Orleans Saints lost. The highest the Bengals could get in the draft order was 9th. The lowest they could be picking, even if they won today, would have been 11. And if Kansas City does not manage to win that game, which, boy, is that a pathetic display of football going on so far in Las Vegas, the Bengals will drop back down to 10 based on strength of schedule tiebreakers. That game so far features Kansas City running 33 offensive plays for 72 yards. That's 2.2 yards per play. And Las Vegas running 30 plays for 81 yards. That's 2.7 yards per play at halftime. Less than 3 yards per play for those two teams combined.
I have a stat for you.
All right.
Do you want to start with pick 9 or pick 10?
Well, I don't know what direction you're going, so you pick.
All right. The Bengals have had the 9th overall pick twice in team history.
Yes.
My guy, John Ross, 2017, talked about him very much on the pod. So they picked him 9th. And in 2008, they picked Keith Rivers 9th. So that feels great.
I knew both of those off the top of my head.
They had the 10th overall pick 3 times.
I don't remember the 10th picks.
So 2 of them, pretty darn good. Levi Jones, pretty darn good. Willie Anderson, amazing.
Yep.
And David Verser in 1981. Obviously, that one did not work out. He played 4 years for the Bengals, a year in Tampa, and then ended his career in Cleveland.
That one goes back a little bit far for me.
1981.
What a
so 3 times with the 10th
errors.
pick. Yeah, like I don't know which one to prefer. They got the Hall of Famer with the 10th pick. So
yeah, what a comedy of errors this game was, James. We had 4 false starts at home. Some of that Myles Garrett, I'm sure, making his impact. Yeah. 4 false starts at home, 2 turnovers for touchdowns, multiple dropped interceptions. The Bengals got 6 sacks in this game. And they lost. 2 missed extra points. Evan McPherson not finishing the season strong. That's weird. 2 missed extra points that weren't blocked in the last 2 weeks. That's, I don't know, a footnote really, but weird. Just goes into the sum of comedy of errors that lead to the Bengals losing this game.
I will say this. If this game would have went to overtime, nobody would have won. Everyone should have been fired. So glad it didn't go to overtime.
At least we got that small mercy. We'll have one more film review for you this week, and then it's on to the offseason, James. There will be some year in review content, I'm sure, but it's time to start looking forward to this as big as it gets offseason. I'm done with that, by the way. They failed the last two biggest off seasons in Bengals history. This one is a chance for them to try to redeem themselves, but let's see what they do. That's where I'm at. And that'll be a topic of conversation on this show in the coming weeks as we have to transition to off-season mode for the second straight year. Third straight year at the beginning of January. Until next time, thanks for listening to this episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. Hoo day, and have a good one.